America, the awakening is here. We are here to awaken, empower, and lead, bringing truth, healing, and freedom back to America. Thanks for joining. I have Robert Kraft with me. My name is Patty Cummings, and we are going to go raw today. I have just created this podcast. I'm very excited because I've had so many people asking so many questions, and I thought it's time. Let's get a podcast going. As you can tell, I'm here in my family room. You can see how I live comfortably, real and raw today. Not putting anything up, no stage, no nothing. I have Robert. He's going to be real and raw. He is a very fascinating man. I absolutely love watching his videos and talking with him and learning from him. We all need mentors to learn from, and Bob is definitely one you want to hear speak. So what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about a little bit of history and what we're kind of seeing in America right now. So many people are confused, saying, what is happening? What is going on? And many of us are aware of what's going on because we've been following for years. So a lot of people that follow me understand when I say 17, so we're bringing our republic back. And Bob's going to explain a lot of things to you that have been, unfortunately, not taught in history. And unfortunately, many of you have been lied to your whole entire lives, especially the younger generation. And we're going to kind of go over a little bit of our veterans. Many of our veterans have no clue kind of what happened to them. And Bob's going to explain to them what they need to do. So in this episode, you're going to get to know Bob and I. His name is Robert Kraft. I call him Bob. You can call him Bobby, Bob, or Robert, whatever you choose to, if he's okay with that.
That's fine.
I like to call him Bob. So, Bob, would you like to introduce yourself to the viewers and kind of explain a little bit who you are and your background?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Robert Kraft. I grew up in Inglewood, Southwest Florida. Graduated. I went to a little bit about my background, beginning of my videos. My dad died when I was 7 from Agent Orange. I ended up going to 9 elementary schools, settled in Inglewood, went to middle school, graduated from London Bay High School, went to college. I had ADHD at the time, but I didn't know. So I was a really bad student. I literally barely graduated high school. So spent about a year in college. Wasn't for me. So I did what a lot of people do. I joined the military. I joined the Air Force, went to basic training, went off to Elmendorf Air Force Base, Alaska. Spent 2 years there. And I was actually honorably, under general conditions, discharged for refusing the anthrax vaccine. So I was discharged. I was sent back. I had a general under honorable condition, which now I know so much more about. If I did not have my general under honorable condition, I actually would not be in the position I'm in right now. It's actually really important. General is very different than a regular, I hate to say regular, but a regular honorable discharge. There is a different jurisdiction that attaches to it in law. Came back. I went to fire school. I became a firefighter EMT. I did that. I'm actually still a paramedic up in Maryland, but I was firefighter EMT. And then in 2011, I started working for Charlotte County Fire and EMS. I was considered the golden boy. I wrote their medical protocols. I did their Ebola protocols. I wrote their narcotics programs. I was like the research and editor of a lot of their stuff. Right about that time, about 2016, 2017, the organization went through this massive political shift politically, where it seemed like power started really ceding to the top. People were leaving, and it really became a unhealthy work environment. We had I call it a irreconcilable differences. I wouldn't say I was fired. My paperwork does not say I was fired. It says I could not return from medical, is actually my formal document says. Even though 2 doctors actually released me, that's a whole nother story I don't want to get into, because it really doesn't matter. What it really did was set the tone for this road that I went down. So I was a veteran. Go ahead.
First, say thank you for your service and thank you for helping bringing America back again. So with many things that you have done, one thing I've always said, anyone can pass a test, Bob, and I think you agree with me on this, but can you perform? A lot of people can't perform. I know people have gone to college and they've gone 10 years in straight A's, but they get out They don't know what to do with themselves because they don't have common sense. And I'm not trying to lack anyone with education here. That's not what I'm doing. But I don't like it when people say, oh, they didn't get good grades in school or they're a high school dropout. That means that they're not good enough. BS. I call that BS all day long. You talking with you, your memory is like boom, boom, boom. I can't keep up with you sometimes. And I'm constantly taking notes. I'm like, stop, wait, slow down. So I can go research for myself and kind of see what's going on. But I'm going to kind of skip around here real quick, Bob. This is for the veterans out there. So the one thing that really caught me with you is what you've put together. So here's the thing. When I say to Bob, the viewers, thank you for helping put America back together again, it's because we all have to help President Trump.
Yes.
This isn't just President Trump. This is President Trump and the American people bringing the republic back, which is not easy. But it's been in progress for many years now for President Trump and his military team. That's why it's happening, but you can't catch up. But here's the one thing where Bob came through to help our veterans, and he helped the president, and he helped America. Bob had found out as a veteran, many veterans are not once they were discharged on American soil.
Okay.
So what Bob did, he's also an international attorney. Yes. He went ahead and put the license program of a trust together for our military men and women here in America, passed it off, got it to President Trump, which is now became a legal law of the Republic, if I'm correct here, in August 2024. Yeah. So I'm going to let Bob take over and explain why this is so important and what happened and why our military has been lost in the system. And this is going to make you all very, very, very angry, but very grateful knowing that, first of all, President Trump won. Number two, a citizen and local hero such as Bob came forth to help bring America back together again. So, Bob, you want to go ahead and share a little bit about the veterans
the process? Yeah. Well, so that is our presumption at this time based on many things that have happened. Unfortunately, because of the way the military was actually detached from the American people purposely by a usurpation, which is a lot of what we're seeing fall apart right now, direct line communications cannot happen. So you pretty much have to like throw things into the dark and then see if something starts happening. And then all of a sudden the like waves come back to the shore. That's kind of how things have happened over the last couple of years. So what we found out, what we've come to is President Trump has done a great job. He gave us this opportunity, and don't think for 1 second he didn't. We built our entire organization founded on the USMCA treaty, which was completely executed in July of 2020. That treaty was agreed upon at the World Trade Organization in December of 2019. It was delivered to the Congress in March of 2020, and it went into full effect in July of 2020. It's a very interesting set of dates. This treaty gives American individuals the power to originate under the Republic, the power to actually set up private organizations or ministerial organizations that are needed to reestablish the Republic. The power to assemble is to put things together, like merging organizations together, but they have to be able to talk to each other. So when we kind of figured this out, and I went through the USMCA treaty, and I realized what this thing really did, and then come to find out my veteran status, where I was, and this road I was on, I was already headed there. I didn't really know it. But the system requires both sides to contribute. Donald Trump is doing everything that he's supposed to do, and he, in my opinion, I don't know this for a fact, but I haven't seen the military march into the White House, so I'm assuming that he is working directly with the military. And a lot of things that I've seen lock in that the military is operating under martial status at this point in time.
In 2017, he signed that into effect, and it was renewed in 2021. Bye-bye.
But yes, but that was the whole military.
That's right.
And that was actually, in that period of time, was NATO's command. So the term for NATO, and we don't ever dig into NATO, the term for NATO, the NATO's leader is called the Supreme Commander. That is who he is, the Supreme Commander. The U.S. president is the Supreme Commander of NATO. Okay, it started with Dwight D. Eisenhower. And I found that out when I went to his presidential library in Kansas, and I saw the paperwork where he was made Supreme Commander of Allied Forces. So he's doing everything on that side. The problem is it requires the American people to do their part. And that's what we didn't know. We have to get our communities organized. We have to get our counties organized. We have to get, and that's this thing that we're doing right now is we're setting up, because of my American general law status, because of my International Bar Association, go ahead.
Before we get into the law
Yes.
of the land, let's get back into the military, of what's actually happened to the military men and women on what they need to do to proceed to be part of the law of the land.
Right. And we're going to have a website up here pretty quick.
And what's the website? I'll have it coming. I'll be putting that up too.
The website is going to be ourunitedrepublic.com. Our, O-U-R, unitedrepublic.com. So we've secured that domain.
And that goes live today.
That is supposed to go live this afternoon. I was hoping it would be done before this,
awesome.
But it should be live. At the bottom of the page, there is actually a link that says instructions for veterans. And when you click it, it brings up a PDF. You can print it, and it literally takes you through how to record your DD-214. It gives you the website to archives to request your personnel file. It gives you the link to VA to schedule your upgrade, because you still got to go to get an upgrade.
Can you kind of explain a little bit of what happened and why this is important?
Yeah. So because of all this stuff where NATO came around and because of the Reconstruction, this situation really goes back to the War of 1812, which we were told that we won the War of 1812. But technically, the War of 1812 has never had a legitimate treaty, because the war was against the American nation, not the United States. And the American people have never negotiated a peace treaty with the individuals, which was not the British. According to a 1930 U.S. Supreme Court ruling, it was an organization called the Union of the United States. And presumably that organization is now called the federal government, or at least a lot of it, at its higher levels. So there's a whole bunch of treaties that took place that changed it from what it was to what it is. But essentially, that's what it is. So after the War of 1812, there was this sequential process of dismantling. They flooded 77% of all immigrants into America between 1820 and 1850 were Irish. They had orchestrated a potato famine between the North and the South Irish. Then we have the Civil War, and that's where things really, really got locked in for that organization to take power. In the Reconstruction, the 13th and 14th Amendments were passed. The 13th and 14th Amendments allowed for slavery, and they established U.S. citizenship. U.S. citizenship had never existed prior to Reconstruction, because you were an American, right? We were America. This was America. This was not the U.S. The U.S. was a commercial defense mechanism for the to provide for the national defense. And it was for our commerce, our trade system, and it was for the public sector, which is called the United States of America. So that's why it says for the United States of America, not of the United States. And these are really key words, because they're prepositional. But if you think if you're a medical person, like you're a paramedic, you know this, like, superior and inferior, or lateral versus medial. But these words in law are really, really important, because it sets a plenary. You heard of a plenary council? It sets a plane of who's above and who's below, or are they next to each other? Are they walking side by side? Are they even? So these prepositions really become dangerous, because if you say something like, the Constitution of the United States, that is a different Constitution than a Constitution for the United States of America, or a
Right.
Constitution for the United States, or in the United States versus of the United States. So these words are, and when I studied philosophy and working on, that got me my International Bar Association, this stuff became really, really important, and they are things that we've been left out. So really what happened was, after Reconstruction, we went through a thorough dismantling, and I'm not going into all the details. Subsequently, the precipice of that whole dismantling, because irrevocable trust only lasts 99. 1965, the Reconstruction Trust, which is the Statue of Liberty. The Statue of Liberty is the statute that codifies the merging of the Civil War, which was which they told us it was a gift from France. It was not a gift from France. It was called consideration for a treaty. You have to give something. And the Seventh Amendment says $20. 20 silver ounces is really what it is. $20 codifies the ability to adjoin at law in treaty. The Statue of Liberty Trust ran out on in 1965. And if you really look at our law system in 1965, that is where everything really got bad. In 1969, in September of 69, all the courts in the United States, including the U.S. Supreme Court, went under civil law, which means that all the equity courts were gone. All the chancery courts were gone. All the common law courts were gone. There were no other courts. Every court was under civil federal or civil state law.
And that's where land of the sea comes in versus the law of the land. It's the law of the sea.
Yes.
Correct?
So the federal government is running at the law of the sea, which is maritime law. That's why they have a meritocracy, and that's why Congress gives away meritorious awards, because they're in merit. And if you look at some of the federal people, that they have a merit system, they actually have a merit login system because they're under maritime law. But the states, who we were told were superior, right? They're not superior. They're actually operating, as best we can guess right now, the states are actually operating under Universal Commercial Code. But Universal Commercial Code is India's code. The states are actually out of India. Their headquarters in India, which I didn't think about it till recently. It made sense, because whenever we start calling customer service, we get rerouted to India. I'm like, because it's a state EIN, it's in consumer law. Well, consumer law is salvage law. That's at the bottom of the ocean. Like, you're literally like a sunken ship dug in the dirt. And that's what you are. So, like, the whole thing about Jesus saying, be fishers of men, like, he knew a lot about law, and he was telling us, like, you're going to get flooded, you're going to become fish. And Universal Commercial Code is basically commercial fishing. That's how humans are.
There's just so much, and it's like we're learning history the right way now, knowing what we were taught. And I was digging, because of what I've been through, and I'm like, where's the Constitution? Where is the Constitution?
Right.
And learning the law of the sea versus the law of the land, I'm like, this is crazy. And back in 2019, when you would try to tell anyone, they think you're wacko. When you're trying to explain to them, he's trying to get us under the Republic. And that's going to be another episode that we're going to do. And I know we keep getting off the military, but I think it's just so important and critical that the viewers that are watching this understand a little the history that follows to where the military are today, and why it's important that the military, the link that Bob has given you, to make sure you check it off and to do it. Now, I have friends that are in the military, and they had no idea. Now, my brother who, is a Marine, he's out, but he did his in late 90s before it got lost in the system. But even then, he said a lot of his friends had no idea to do it. So one thing I also want to get into, speaking of the Marines, is even with the Marine Corps, what I was taught and what many were taught is wrong. So on your findings, do you want to explain a little bit about the Marines and the armies of what they actually do?
Yeah. Yeah. So because of these jurisdictional, so one of the things I had to do is I had to really I had to go study like jurisdictional law. Like when we're talking about this, where are we at? Like the rules if we're a bird are different than the bird walking on the land. That's kind of how law works in the same way. What we didn't know, because the military's been so detached from the American people, is under Article 3, it gives us 4 law jurisdictions. So Article 3, it says, and that's where it says the supreme law of the land. It says law and equity and admiralty and maritime. So what it's told us is there are 4 jurisdictions under Article 3 of the Constitution. Law, when it says law, well, we'll start at the bottom. So we have maritime, because we were just talking about that. So we'll just stay there. So maritime law is actually our consumer law. Okay, so that law is actually your point of service, whatever. That is actually supposed to be observed and addressed by the U.S. Coast Guard. That is why Alexander Hamilton set up the Coast Guard. That is why there's a Coast Guard flag in the Treasury building. There's literally a Coast Guard flag in the Treasury building that hasn't been there since 1965, only in the administrative offices. And it is the flag of rank for the U.S. Coast Guard, because that is our consumer system or our maritime system. Then you go to the next level up. You go to admiralty. Well, we call that the law of the sea. Admiralty law is the Navy, and that is our longshoremen. That is our trucking systems. That is our commercial shipping. That is our warehousing. That is our private sector commercial system to facilitate the regulation of commerce. That's the Navy. Okay. And if you go to Article 1, it says the Navy, and it actually says to regulate commerce. Well, those two together are both water. They're both water side, right? So one is the public side. That's called the consumer sector. And then the other one is the commercial private sector. So one side the public, one side the private. That is our for-profit division. That is our profit side of our government. Commercial and maritime, or commercial and consumer law, fall over there. Then you cross like a veil and you actually go to the trust division. The trust division is where the equitable assets are and where the principles of the nation are. So when you cross the veil to the trust division, you become ministerial. These organizations are not supposed to operate by profiting or by gaining or whatever. They're supposed to be in trust. They're who we trust to do the right thing when they're supposed to do it. So you get to equity, right? So equity law is American individual equity. That law is governed by the U.S. Army. That is our territorial law system. So that's the North American territory. And that is the green. If you see green, the green is usually Army. So that is our equity system. That's where our equities are. That's where our property records are. That's where we keep our assets. So that's our territory law. And then you get to the highest level. Okay, you go from the Army, right? Originally it was called the American Regular Army. And then from the American Regular Army, you go into the doorsteps or the guards of the American Republic. That is the United States Marine Corps, originally called the American Continental Marines, which was a remake of the Knights Templar. Okay. So the Marine Corps, that's why they sing a hymn. They sing a hymn because the Marine Corps is a religion. It even says in their hymn that they guard the streets and they guard the land. And it actually says at the end of the hymn, if the Army and the Navy ever look upon heaven seen, they will find out the streets are guarded by United States Marines. That's the end of the hymn. But here's why that hymn is there. Judge Advocate Division, Maine, United States Marine Corps, is the supreme law of the land court. That is the Supreme Court of Article 3. When Judge Advocate Division, it's a division, so they're going to divide something, right? When you come out of Judge Advocate Division, Maine, you have two sides. You have the Judge Advocate Generals of the United States Army, and you have the Judge Advocate Generals of the United States Navy, splitting our trust division from our profit division. And that is how it's set up. So the Article 3 court is actually Judge Advocate Division, Maine, United States Marine Corps. And that's why they've been keeping away from us, because they are supposed to have different jurisdictions, and they are supposed to be in our courts to make sure that there's no fraud, there's no corruption. They are the ones who issue warrants on public officers, on crooked judges, crooked attorneys, politicians. They are supposed to be in those courtrooms, and they are supposed to be watched by military. So in all essence, what happened was the American people got the military. The rich merchants and traders, retailers, as Plato called them, retailers and merchants, got their riches. They got their wealth. So they got trade and commerce, and they got profiteering, but the people kept the military, specifically the Army and the Marine Corps. And that is why they passed habeas casti comitatus, to get rid of, to get the military away from the people.
Well,
so then
it makes sense. Many, many years ago, the people were mean to our military, very disrespected to the military.
Right,
and
which was orchestrated.
It was all orchestrated, 100%. And where Trump has come in, President Trump has come in to teach the people the respect of our military, men and women, and how they've been left behind. And they have been. They should never be living in our woods. They should never be hurting, because they've sacrificed, many sacrificed their lives, left their families. They went home, of course, up in heaven, because they sacrificed their life for our freedom. But then man or woman, however way you want to put it, took that Constitution away for what they sacrificed their life for. And here we've been lied to for so long and so many years, and all these people that were betrayed. The truth is coming out. The truth is actually out now. There's no going back. There's no hiding. It's done. The awakening is here, and the people have woke up. They are done. The military, thanks to you, we're going to jump in here now. The trust that you just put together, can you explain what you had to do? And now, this was not cheap. You put up your own money.
Yeah,
to do this for America and our veterans. Go ahead and explain a little bit. Don't be so humble. Just let it out there. Tell them what you got to do.
Yeah. So, and you talk about funding. I can tell you that there's been almost no funding over the last 5 years. This has all been self-funded, basically by working and then taking like every dollar to get this done. So what happened was, when I figured out that I didn't even totally figure it out all at once. Some of this stuff just happened because I just felt like it was the right time. So in this journey, I had left Florida. I had moved to Kansas. I lived in this really little farming town in Kansas. And I was still doing research. I was still reading hundreds. I've read almost 500 books at this point, going all the way back to Plato and Aristotle, like 2,400 years ago. And I realized that we had to start from the beginning, because we didn't have anything. We didn't have anything to stand on. And I started learning about trust and how trusts work and where they came from and how important they are. Trusts are like platforms. They create like jurisdictional platforms that you can put things on. So think about, when you say organization, you're talking about like a human, let's say like a body, right? It's called a body, a political body. You're creating a political body, and then you're putting clothes on it, or you're putting a backpack on it. You're putting a weapon in it, and you're putting these things in it. Well, that's a trust. Okay. Same concept. So it becomes like this strange abstraction. So what had to happen was we had to actually birth a new American ministry, because America is a church. America is a ministry and trust. Now, whether you like the word trust or church, it doesn't matter. If it is an organization in trust at law, it is a church. It's not out there trying to get profits. It's not out there trying to make money. It's not out there trying to fund. It's out there to be relied upon as an anchor. So we had to birth this new thing. So I had to literally do this whole judicial process with myself to write a Declaration of Independence, an individual, singular Declaration of Independence. Go through an entire judicial process with myself, basically merging mind, body, and soul into one individual entity that originally was called the Assembly of Robert Kraft. So I had to take this whole thing. Then when it was done, it had to be witnessed, and there had to be people there to cite it, and then it had to go and get served on the federal government, on the U.S. government, and that's called seating. And then you have to wait. It's like a whole year. You have to wait for this thing, for them to object to its existence. So all this got done, and then we had to do a public notice. We had to publish it in the paper, right? And we had to get all this stuff done. I had to write commissions for other organizations and put them together. So that's it. So that was sitting for a year. And then we had an opportunity, because I had, in that document, in that Constitution, I had seeded another organization called the Brotherhood and Tribulation of the American People. And it had to sit there. And the federal government never objected. The local government never objected. The state of Kansas never objected. No objections from the State Department all the way down to the county. No objections, no arguments, nothing. So this has seeded, and it is now germinated. So then I run into a situation where a group that I know in Charlotte County, Florida, the Republican Party started attacking non-affiliated Republican organizations. They were literally sending in cease and desist letters to sue them if they used the word Republican. They were eating their own. I'm like, I don't know, you guys are crazy. Well, the group down there was like, I don't know what to do. And he said, well, I just switched my stuff. I changed it. And I said, well, what are you doing with the other organization? And their organization's called Republican Assembly Charlotte County. And he said, nothing. There's nothing to do with it. It's gone. I go, no, it doesn't work like that. Once you burst something, it still exists. It just depends on where you put it, how it exists. He's like, what do you want to do? And I said, I've got the Brotherhood ready to go. Let's go ahead and merge them. Let's put them together and put them together as a trust. And he's like, okay. So we go through this whole, now a new judicial process. We're assembling these two abstractive ID concepts into one. All right. And so we go through this process. We have to go through the whole thing, and step by step by step. And then at the end, powers were granted to me. I had to, part of the trust is, if you're the trustee, you're not allowed to be a beneficiary. So I give them, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. I had to actually give them the entire organization completely. Not allowed to own it. I don't own it. I'm not a beneficiary of it. I have to actually, and one of the things we put in it was, if you are ever an officer of the Brotherhood, or for the Brotherhood, because it's a for, then you are not allowed to be a part of the Brotherhood. You actually have to have your own completely separate trust that is completely separate. So if you get out of line, you can completely be removed immediately, and they can replace you. So that was one of the safety mechanisms that we put in. Anyone that actually is an officer of the Brotherhood from this point forever, you have to be completely independently sovereign, so that if you're a problem, you're out. We're not going to do this time. We have to wait to vote. We're not voting anymore. There's a problem, it'll be dealt with immediately.
We got so many people that portray that they are something that they're not, and it's disgusting.
Right.
So this is, you're following President Trump's lead. This is what you guys
because we all had it, because there were many layers of this. So I had to give them the entire organization, and they granted me, they did what's called a charge and order. So they charged me with certain duties of performance at an international and national level. And they gave me, and then I had to go out and get credentials. So I had to become a international independent ordained Christian minister, because it's a ministry. So from the National Association of Christian Ministers, I had to apply for an international bar association license to be able to represent them as their attorney. So I had to go get all this stuff. Luckily, I was approved and I got it. So then now I'm the independent ministerial representative, okay, of this organization, and I'm their attorney in international law. And my job is to go out and make these connections and start to put these other connections together. So the next thing I do is write a Declaration of Independence. Once the organization is done, you have to declare its independence. So I had to write, we had to write a Declaration of Independence, and we had to lock it in, sign it, do everything. So that was done, and we didn't really know what to do. We knew we were on the right path. We knew everything was getting done, and it was all accumulating the right way, but we really didn't know. And then an event happened down in Florida. I was down in Florida because I'm up here in Maryland. We knew that we needed property. Well, the property you see behind us is actually 6.5 acres. The family purchased this property back in the early 1900s, and it's still part of the same family. And this property is on the original William Penn Trust, and it's on the Lord Baltimore grant. So that gives us 2 jurisdictions. Interestingly enough, the William Penn Trust, which is the Liberty Bell Trust, is the inhabitant under the Declaration of Independence. That is the United States Marine Corps. That's their trust. Lord Baltimore grant is actually for the U.S. Army's trust, and that's theirs. So we figured this out. We're like, we have to put the property, because the property's unencumbered. There's no loan on it. So we actually had to put the property in the trust to give the Marine Corps and the Army their claim back to their original heritage. So figured that part out. We got that done. Then we ran into a problem with shipping. There's like we can do a whole section on how our mailing system actually really does work, because that's really interesting. But we get this done. We get down to Florida. We got all this stuff locked down. We verified that our stuff's working right. We have a public meeting late August in Charlotte County, Florida, at the Beef O'Brady's, and there's like retired there. There's retired military officers there. There's community members. There's just regular public. They're all there. We do this presentation, and we explained to them earlier that day we had contacted the international phone for the U.S. Marine Corps, registering our email and our contact information, and we intend to deliver this trust to the military so that they can return to domestic operations. So meeting goes off, nobody objects, everybody's on board. They want the military to assume jurisdiction over their courts. They want the judge advocates in their counties. No objection. So I have to write a summons, and I have to write a petition, and then I had to send it. Then the next day I called back after that was done, and they gave me an email address to go ahead and file the documents. So I filed the documents, the summons and petition, and then I had to wait. And then it was like a week later, I had to deliver the trust. So it's really weird. There's this thing about UPS. UPS is our territorial mailing system. So we had to have UPS boxes to do all this stuff, or it's not actually recorded in international jurisdiction.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So we had to actually send it like 3 different boxes, and we couldn't figure out how it was going to get to them in the proper jurisdiction. So we had to put them on the mailing to them, and then we had to send it from one box to another. Well, they ended up taking the one at the International Trade Center, which is where our international box is, and that's the one they kept. And then we got an email saying that they're in possession. So that was like late September or late August or early September. And that is when, like, we started to see all kinds of changes happen. All of a sudden, the intelligence documents were updated. Federal judges were no longer allowed to issue FISA warrants. Civilians were allowed, lethal force was allowed to be used on civilians. But what people don't know is we are called indigenous inhabitants. That is us, because we're on the Declaration. So that's only for indigenous inhabitants. Civilians are actually in the profit division under the Navy, and that is the federal government. It was the federal government employees that they were allowed to use lethal force on. And everybody was freaking out, thinking that everyone's a civilian. I'm like, no, nope. And there was other stuff in there. It actually talked about constitutional rights, how they will absolutely be recognized. So all these changes started to happen. You start to see all this other stuff. And Carl, the president down in Florida, is like, did we really do this? I'm like, I don't know. But
Yeah,
like,
you did.
things are happening. Like, the stuff that we put in there is happening, legitimately happening. So we have to go with reason, unless somebody else did the same thing, which I haven't met anybody. I've never talked to anybody. And I've kind of always been on this, like, side road. So that's what happened.
You did it right, and now your name's on it. You can't take that away.
Yeah. So
I mean, it's all there.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I mean, for the viewers. Bob's got a humble heart, but he's doing it from his heart. He's actually doing the work of the Lord. So I think it's amazing.
Yeah. So that part. So when the Brotherhood and Tribulation merges to the trust, the territorial trust, and the land trust, that creates a new entity, right? When two come together, we make a third. That's reproduction. So that created the American People's Common Trust. So that was given to them for administration. So we are still part of the Brotherhood. They have the American People's Common Trust. And then subsequently, this is how we got to where we are right now, that this is all opening. All of a sudden, I get a package delivered to my accountant down in Florida, and she scans it and sends it to me. And I'm like, I have no idea what this is. Well, I get down there and I pick it up from her. And this was only like a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. And all of a sudden I realized that somebody has gone and recorded another organization on the land record in Texas. And then they turned it over to us, and he actually gave it to the public.
That's awesome.
It's weird. It's like I'm like, and I'm looking through it. The only thing that's in his version of it is the Declaration of Independence, the Articles of Confederation, and the Bill of Rights.
Yeah.
So like a clean public slate. And he turns it over and creates, and calls it Our United Republic. It's given to the people, the public. Literally says on the recording, to the public. Boom. And then delivers it to us. And he's like, and I talked to him. I'm like, do you realize what you did? And he's like, I don't know. I just felt like I had to do it. I'm like, you created a private public organization. You literally moved the public into their private jurisdiction where they have a place in the private sector for the entire nation. And he's like, I don't know. He didn't know. Like, he didn't realize. And I don't think he realized it, but he did it. Like, it's done. So now, taking all this stuff, we can merge it all together and present the American People's Public Trust, which is a private land record public trust inside the Republic, inside the United States of America.
And we're going to get into that in the next. I am just blown away by everything that you have done for our veterans. And I'm so grateful and so thankful. And I know so many out there are going to feel the same way. And that's why I think it's so important that the basic steps that you will find in his website, I highly recommend you go to the website. What's the website again, Bob?
It's ourunitedrepublic.com.
And I will have that on the screen here, and I'll put the link all over this podcast so you
Yes.
guys can go there. And I'm going to, for people that came in late or if they didn't hear the beginning, I think it's very important when you get that PDF, you go ahead, if you are loved ones was in the military, if you're in the military, you know someone of the military, find out if they did with their DD-214, if they took it to the county, basically following the steps that Bob had put together for you so you can be registered law of the land, pretty much, correct?
Yes, because it does
military.
get recorded on the land record.
Yeah.
And listen, you're not gonna. This isn't like you're gonna do like all these steps. You're gonna take the document in there. They know what to do with it. As soon as you give it to them, they are gonna take it from you. They are gonna go. They are gonna record it. They are gonna put this little label on it. Like they know what you're supposed to do with it. You may not, but when you hand it to the right person, they absolutely know what to do. And they
But I
will do
highly
it.
recommend, but I highly recommend that they print out so they can follow your
Yeah,
step by step.
absolutely.
It's gonna take up to a year before you see these records. But you know what I think is so amazing is President Trump is now back in office. So he's always been in office, I feel, because he's been in charge
Probably.
over everything's been going on, and that's why we had Space Force.
Oh, is that what that is?
My red light, for my lung. Is that like we say? Yeah, level 4. Yeah, I think it was level 6.
Yeah.
So it's very important. But what I was saying was,
hold on. Let me clarify that. So if you have your DD-214, that's the easy part. That's the easiest part. The review is the part that could take up to a year if you haven't been reviewed. So that's actually the court order.
Okay.
That you need, and then that'll take a year. But if they have it, and actually I got a message from somebody today that said, "Thank you for your advice. I actually just contacted and I've ordered my certified copy of my DD-214." I'm like, wait till you go down there. I'm like, you'll be shocked. You'll hand it to them, and they know exactly what to do with it. So
I really believe under President Trump, he's going to bring the respect back to the military and giving them the things that they were supposed to have from the very, very beginning.
Yeah.
I really believe we are about to see that unfold in front of our eyes this year, because I know that was one of his missions and he's been strong about it. And even in his inauguration, I mean, come on, look what he did. I mean, if anyone couldn't see, he brought back 1776, then you weren't paying attention, and he always gives you those clues and he says these things. And it's like, when people say, get your popcorn out, absolutely, because we're watching a show. It's a movie.
It is.
Everything's taking place for a reason, and we have to get people caught up because they don't understand. All you're hearing is, what is he doing? What do you mean Canada 51st state? What do you mean this? And that's me. And see, I'm getting off the subject matter too here. So we'll get back to the veterans, but I'm so excited to see, that it's time that everybody else in that category as veterans are taken care of the way you were supposed to be from the very, very beginning. And when he says that the land of America is about to change, he's not kidding.
No.
It's happening right now. Like literally. And people are like, well, how's it happening so fast? This has been in the works for 10 years with him. Just didn't happen when he, swore in. Well, really.
That was when it was put in motion. But in reality, you can probably roll this back. This event right here has been getting prepared for about 50 years.
Absolutely.
So because there are so many things in place that we had no idea what they meant.
Exactly. And I know in our other episode, we'll go over all this. And I'm kind of like you. We're both ADHD. Everything goes in our brain. We want to share so much that we have.
Yeah.
But like the biggest thing I said in one of my videos that I did for TikTok, we have 4 presidents. And for the viewers, I want you guys to really think about this. 4 presidents had one thing in common. We're going to go back to Abraham Lincoln. Then we have John F. Kennedy. Then we have Ronald Reagan. And we have Trump. What are the 4 things they have in common? Well, we all know 2 were assassinated, and then the other 2 had the attempted assassinations. Why? And I'm going to leave it at that. Why? And you and I, Bob, on our next show, we're going to go over the whys.
I want to add one to that.
Go ahead.
Donald Trump is the one who added this one. William McKinley was assassinated.
Yeah.
And he mentioned William McKinley. He said, we're bringing back Mount McKinley, which is a very interesting and very important point. William McKinley was assassinated. That's how Teddy Roosevelt became president.
There you go.
Yeah.
There's so much to share.
There is. It's very interesting.
This is just the beginning, guys. Look, we're going to talk about, there's a lot we're going to talk about. We're going to be talking about health. I'm beating cancer naturally. So we're going to be talking about health, wealth, cryptocurrency, the republic, President Trump, what's happening in Congress. Are they getting a paycheck? What's going on with the federal employees? Everyone's like, they're melting.
The federal fanatics.
The monies that we're finding, the waste through Doge. What was it? A shrimp running on a treadmill. Do you guys know how much money that cost? A shrimp. Come on, bring this in your head.
They never did it.
A shrimp running on a treadmill. $3 million. Now, here's the thing. But here, Bob, common sense party. A lot of people are not thinking outside the box. They're thinking, did that shrimp really go on a treadmill? And do they really time it to up? But here's the thing. Did that really happen? No. This is a way they hide their monies. They ran out of ways of how they're going to give the monies out, so they start writing stupid stuff and tagging it with millions of dollars.
Yes.
They think people like us are stupid.
It's called
absolutely. And how many are going to no if they're already not there now? So, and they're making plea deals. All of a sudden, I think it's so funny. Here's Mark Zuckerberg. I never wanted to be a fact checker. I love the Republic. I love the people. I love the da-da-da-da-da. I believe the First Amendment. I call BS. You know why? Because you had to make a plea deal, Mark. You had to make a plea deal. That's all of a sudden, Mega is with TikTok. And TikTok had to make a plea deal because all the crap that they were doing now is back in America. And I said from the very beginning, it's not going to be shut down. If it is, it's less than 24 hours because Trump's making a deal and the government's going to take it over. What's happening now? Trump made an offer, 50%. Kevin O'Leary, come on in. Here's Kevin. It's like, wake up. People are not catching on what's happening. He's stopping. It's all been about one thing. One thing, money. Money. This whole freaking thing is all about money. And he beat them at their own game. And that's why I think this guy is, they don't know how to handle them.
No, they can't.
And now people are finally talking about smart cities. Hello, I've known about smart cities for so long. Hello. Look what happened to me. But the UN, he beat them at their own game. And guess what? By the United Nations, they were just demolished. But people don't understand how deep this goes. They are so brainwashed, thinking that it's a wonderful thing. No, it's not. None of this has been. None of it. We broke and poor as a country. These other countries have better skylines. Their education outsoars us. The technology, we're 10, 20 years behind.
Yeah.
We should be, and we are now, going to be the lead of all the nations. And that's why I applaud that we won. And I know people get mad at me. I do care. That's why I stand for what I believe in. I believe in our country. I believe in our veterans. I believe in our rights. I believe in our Constitution. I believe in God, Jesus, our Lord and Savior. I have my own belief system. If you don't like it, then that's okay. It's your opinion. But in my opinion, it's things I've just shouted out are what it's been about from the very beginning. But many that have been asleep are now starting to wake up. And that's why we're calling this podcast America, The Awakening, because we are awakening the people.
Yeah.
And that's what's important.
There is a period of time where you have to suffer enough before you can.
It had to play out this way, Bob.
Yeah.
Great point.
Yep.
It had to. And he's being so smart. He's making the bad guys, the villains, spit it off their own tongue. He's not saying it anymore. He's making them come in front of the camera and to tell the truth. They have no choice now but to tell the truth. Because so many people are like, well, what they're saying now, the Congress, what they're saying about them, they're out there protesting, they're screaming. But media's not even really picking it up. I think it's hilarious.
Well, they can't. They can't, because here's the funny part. They're lawmakers. It's their Congress. Their job is to pass laws. Well, go get the FBI to give a warrant. Oh, wait, you can't do that anymore. Go pass the bill. Nobody cares about your bills. You have no say. You are, and they are Article 4. They are Article 4. They were Article 4 acting as Article 1. They're no longer there, and nobody wants to hear what they have to say.
I think it's awesome. I've been
You know what? I want to throw this. I want to throw this out there. Because I have gone into enough courtrooms and heard this, and I just want to say it for all the people that are going to watch this, and you'll know what I'm talking about. If you have gone into a courtroom in one of the circus clown courtrooms, okay, and you have made your argument, and you have stood by your values, and you have stood there, and they tell you you had no standing. Well, guess what? They don't have any standing. How does it feel? How does it feel not to have any standing? Sit down.
God,
we're not talking to you anymore.
In 2015,
we never knew you.
2015, all you heard was drain the swamp. They have been drained.
They are losing their minds. It's awesome.
You know, in my healing process, you know, people know that I've been fighting cancer naturally from, you know, stage 3 to pretty much it's down to like nothing. It's awesome. That in my healing process, I couldn't ask for anything better at the time that I've been focusing on beating, you know, this thing that they made it sound like it's the worst of the worst. It's like, oh, I'm killing these parasites left and right. But meanwhile, I'm celebrating and I'm laughing. And I'm like, people are like, wait, you're supposed to be sick. What do you mean?
Yeah.
We're directions.
Yeah.
We're unstoppable. We are cutting through so much of the layers. The layers are pretty much done.
Yeah.
I think it is done. It's just, what is it in March?
It's over.
Yeah. March 5th is the big day, though. Isn't it March 5th?
March 5th. So my understanding is March 5th, they will announce, if I'm correct. Listen, this hasn't happened in
but I've read about it too.
13 years.
Yes, I've read about it too. That's why March is a big month. March is a big month
huge.
For many things. Yes.
March 5th, they should announce the chosen Article 2 president, and then he should be seated government. He should be seated March 21st, and that is through the 12th Amendment. 12th Amendment says that there are 2 separate ballots because there are 2 separate presidents. One is the president of the Senate, which is the profit side president. One is the national guardian, or the American president, who is the Article 2 president. And that's why I think that there's still a stadium in front of the White House, because the Article 2 president has to be inaugurated there. He's not inaugurated. He is, He's declared. Presidents at land law give proclamations, and they do declarations. That's why it's called Declaration of Independence. So Lincoln proclaimed.
For the viewers that are watching, that if they are aware of this, I kind of want to explain it. So we are back in the Republic.
That's correct.
We were under an incorporated DC.
Insurgency, technically.
And it's gone. It has been demolished. It's over.
Yeah, its residents are being audited and reconciled so that we can figure out what to do with them.
Right. So
that's what Doge is doing.
Right. So DCE, it's done. We now are the Republic of the United States of America. And you're about to see things move so fast, your head's going to spin. They can't even keep up right now. They can't keep up. We're like, okay, another amendment. I mean, it's just a constant. It's like boom, boom, boom. But it's been ready to go. So once that all took place, the green line went, and that's why there's no stopping. And like I said in the beginning, Canada, it is going to be the 51st state. Greenland, it's already a done deal. These are already done deals. They just have to play it out.
Remember, it was the American Continental Congress. There were 8 continents in the world in 1770.
Well, and Australia is also in there too.
So there are 8 continents. So it is the North American territory. That runs from Greenland to Alaska to Panama, which was actually Colombia before William McKinley, which we'll get into that. William McKinley is the one, that whole thing where Panama was actually Colombia. So that is the North American territory, all the way out to St. Helen, where most people don't know this, and a lot of this comes from this. St. Helen in the Eastern Caribbean is where Napoleon is buried. After his second exile, he was put there in the Eastern Caribbean, and that is because he was the Emperor of France, but he was actually the Emperor of the United Kingdom, which is the Prince of Wales. So,
Okay, this is exciting. Okay,
yeah,
so we're gonna, for the viewers, we're gonna do another episode, and we're gonna go over everything that Bob is talking about right now, and we're gonna really dive even deeper into some history, so you guys have a better understanding. Because we don't want to overwhelm you in this first episode that we are doing. I'm so excited, Bob. This is going to be so huge. Educating the people, the Americans, and just the people around the world. People need to know what's really happening because, like I said, since 2020, it's been a ruse. I use that word all the time. People don't know what to believe anymore. What's real? What's not real?
right.
Who's telling the truth? Who's not telling the truth? The ruse is over. So now all the truth is coming out. Let the truth set you free. Here is the truth. Here, in our opinion, these are our opinions.
That's our.
I can't make someone believe something.
You know what?
But if you look it up and you read it and you see it and you put it together and use a little common sense,
you know what?
You'll have your answer. Yes.
Next segment or the next episode, we need to get into legal opinions versus lawful facts and where they come from, because that is a lot of our problem. And people are going to be shocked to find out how exactly legal opinions and lawful facts work. They're very different systems. We've had a whole bunch of legal opinions, but we don't have any lawful facts.
This is exciting. Okay, well, we're going to wrap this up because this is about an hour now. And I hope that we answered a lot of their questions. Go ahead and follow us. We are going to be all over social media. We want to blow up this podcast. Share this with your friends. Just get it out there. Get it out there. Thanks, Bob. Do you have any last words that you want to say to anybody?
Nope. Tune in for the next episode because it's going to be a lot of information. And
that.
It's your job to go find it.
That's right. Like I've always said, I can lead the horse to water, but I can't make him drink it. So we got the water in front of you guys. All right. We will talk to you soon. America, the awakening is here.